And then let's see. Great. So welcome to our first summer workshop of the year. Again, I am a career advisor for the College of Global Futures, which includes the School of Sustainability, the School for Future and Innovation and Society, Complex Adaptive Systems, and just launching the School of Ocean Futures. Today, what we're going to talk about, obviously with the title, but really I want to give you more than just information. I want to show you the tools that can help you explore what you want to do, how you want to use your degree, and then also with job search, things to keep you on track, and the tools to help you stay on track. So quick disclaimer with this workshop, just want to say there is no one way to explore careers or apply for jobs. These are my opinions and what I've learned from recruiters and my research on what works best for people. There's no magic wand for discovering what you want to do or finding your dream job. So just keep that in mind while we go through. These are just some tools to get you started, but you ultimately are the one who decides how you're going to do it. So career exploration. I meet with a lot of students and recent grads. I ask them what they're interested in, and they say they're open to everything, which is great. It's great to have an open mind. But when it comes to your career, having a roadmap is extremely helpful. So let's say I told you you need to drive from Phoenix to New York City, but you can't use GPS, you can't use a smartphone, you can't use a map. You will eventually get to New York City, but it's going to take a while, a lot of wrong turns, probably a lot of frustration. But if we use tools like GPS, you will get there a little faster, a little smoother. Granted, always opportunity to take wrong turn, but at least you know the general direction you're going. So with that, thinking about career exploration as a process, it's going to happen throughout your career, not just as a student or a recent graduate. So these are kind of the 4 steps in the process, and we'll go through each one of them. So reflecting. This is getting to know yourself, what you're even interested in, what are your values, meaning like what guides your day-to-day actions, also in the workplace, what guides your actions in the workplace. Also finding out, getting clear on like what skills and strengths do you have, but what skills do you like to use? So one way to do that, I mean, there's multiple ways. Pathway U is a tool I will show you. Having conversations with friends and family to get kind of their input to see what they see as your strengths and skills are. And then we got something called the Career Onion that I will show in a second. So Pathway U is available to you as ASU students and alumni. It's an exploration tool, kind of the reflection and exploration, and even has some jobs open for you. So I really like this assessment. It's based on something called the RISIC assessment, which evaluates interest in like 5 general categories. So this is assessment number 1, where it's kind of these generic questions of what you want to do. Like, obviously, you're probably not going to be building kitchen cabinets for your career, but it's kind of getting to like the type of task that you like doing. So once you take all of the assessments, it gives you that score that I showed you. So interests, workplace values. So they kind of narrowed it down to 6, but there's so many values around work, personality, preferences. And then what's cool is that you can also start exploring career matches based on your assessment results. So we'll go back to that in just a second. Let's see. All right. That's Pathway U. So for some, a lot of grad students maybe have some career experience already. So thinking about everything you've done in the past and what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. That can help you get really clear on what you want and need in your next role. I linked the Feel Good Career Workbook. I'll share that at the end with you, but it has these nice reflection questions, which are really ideal for people with some job experience, professional experience already. Interests. Helpful way to think about interests is thinking about the things that you've studied in your classes. For our college, a framework we really focus on is the Sustainable Development Goals. You can also think about it as what problems do you see in the world that you would like to solve or at least contribute to solving? So this takes some reflection as well. You can go to the UN website to learn more about like the strategies for each one. Quick Google search of like who is addressing zero hunger in the world. And then that can help you get a better sense of how people are contributing to these in their day-to-day job. All right, and then this career onion is based on a book called Good Work. Thinking about an onion, it takes a while to, there's layers and you peel them away. A lot of times people start with job titles. They look at a job board, they titles, they don't know the companies, they try to assess if it's a good fit. What Shannon recommends is starting big picture, those issues or interest areas you have. What problems do you want to solve? Then narrow it down after that, kind of like that Google search. What organizations are working on that? And then also keeping in mind the different types of organizations that do that. So that typically breaks down into companies or corporations, big and small, nonprofits, which are also can be local, national, or global, and then government agencies, again, local, national, global, to a certain extent. And then universities and research centers kind of fall somewhere in between that nonprofit and government agency area. Each one has a very different work culture. So that's something to look into too as you're kind of searching through organization types. Then thinking about function, you can also think of this as like a department at a company or organization. So thinking about the general ones, there's usually human resources, accounting, marketing, sales. So all of those teams have a different focus to help the organization achieve its mission. So that is something to explore a little bit more. And then like what roles are in each of those departments and what skills do each of those roles use. So just an example with human resources. On paper, that's not necessarily sustainability focused, but you can work for an organization where their mission is sustainability. And then within HR, there's people that recruit, they're recruiters. There's people that do the interview process, people that onboard new hires, people that do trainings and orientations or trainings throughout employees' careers. So just one example of how this onion can break down and get you really clear on some things you're interested in. Now, if you are studying or do you have like a skill, a very specific skill you really like, be it graphic design, GIS, maybe engineering, you can also start with skills you want to use and then work your way back up. Think like, how can I use my skill in an organization that is solving an issue that I care about? All right, so after reflecting, it's time to do your research on what is out there. So kind of with the career onion, what industries are addressing sustainability issues? Starting to look at job titles or professionals that are working in these industries to see what are the common skills and experiences they have. Also, what education they have. Most people did not start off as, an assistant director, a CEO. They had a career path that got them along the way. And then talking to these professionals is a hugely, hugely important piece of your research and exploration. So let's go back to Pathway U. So once you do those assessments, you explore career matches. So first they give you subject areas. So education. If I'm studying sustainability, I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. But think about this more broadly as the components of sustainability. Thinking about sustainability education. There's lots of organizations that do environmental education or advocate for more environmental education in the classroom. So take it kind of from that lens. Each of these are an aspect of sustainability or an issue that you care about. So communications is a big one. Every organization needs someone in marketing and communications, sales as well. Law and public safety, you could be on the policy and advocacy side of sustainability. You could work for a government agency working on rules and regulations related to sustainability. And then as you can see on the right, it gives you specific careers where they think you would be a strong fit. You can also go to careers and start searching job titles that you've explored on LinkedIn or have seen in the past. These are not these are not great. You need to do a little more digging. So typing in sustainability, for example, then it's starting to give you some more specifics. So public relations specialist, chief sustainability officer takes time to get there. Specialist is usually a more entry level role. This wholesale retail and buyers except farm products. Think of this more as like supply chain and procurement when it comes to sustainability. All right. Also want to talk about using ChatGPT to help you with your career exploration. This does not take the place of talking to people, but it can help you start brainstorming and get into the direction to talk to people. So this also, you need to do this after you do some reflection. So first example of a prompt, you insert like the skills that you like to use, your interests, your major. You can also put your resume if you want to say like not only good fit based on skills, interests, major, but also the jobs that I've done before. Another fun one is to ask for a typical day in the job titles that you generated. Also asking what organizations are addressing the issue area where you are. So let's see. I linked, if Christina, you can put in the chat the ChatGPT prompts link to see all the things that are on there. Not only is it exploration, but there are other tools for resume, cover letter, etc. But here is that find your path. These are some of the prompts that I mentioned. All right, now to LinkedIn research. So you saw maybe a preview of some prompts that you can use. Really searching for alumni who studied what you studied to see what are they doing, where are they working. On the flip side, once you identify some companies, you can go to the company page and see what alumni are working there, and because they might not have studied sustainability, and then seeing, you know, what are the job titles of people at entry level, mid level, and again, how did they get there? So with LinkedIn, it's very easy to get to this, what we call the ASU alumni tab. You just search Arizona State University. You go to the page and click alumni. And think of this basically as a database of everybody on LinkedIn that has ASU in their education section. So they give you some filters ready to go. One of them is what they studied, but you can also just type sustainability or industrial design or music education to see what comes up. And then it's going to give you where they work. As examples, you can also narrow it down by where they live if you're not in Arizona. And and then you get some results. And I like to poke around and see what people are doing. We can check on Kendon because he is an ASU employee as well. All right, so he has done a lot, but we see an internship. He has 17 more experiences, and all of these experiences have built up to being a manager, and then even teaching at ASU. So if it's helpful, starting to like make a spreadsheet of the titles that you see on their way up to their career or the other organizations they worked at, that can help you with the next steps in your job search. All right, and then just for some fun, created a little word map on alumni job titles based on the last alumni survey we did for College of Global Futures graduates. This is just MSUS alumni, so only 29 people responded, but gives you an idea of some titles that you could look for on LinkedIn in different organizations. For our MSL, there are a lot of people in our MSL program who are already in sustainability and are using it to get ahead. So that's why you're going to see some of these higher titles like director, manager, but analyst is kind of in between early career, mid-career. You kind of see it in different places, and also noting that every organization has different titles, so they're not universal. All right, then informational interviews. You can also call this just talking to people, gathering data. You're gathering qualitative data. You're asking questions to get a better sense of what is it truly like to work in some of the jobs that you've identified might be interesting. I also like to call these career conversations because it truly is just a conversation where you're just asking questions. So a couple examples of things that you could focus on. Biggest one I love is asking like, what would you do if you were in my position? Also, who else would you recommend that I talk to? Because the more you talk to people, the more people are going to know about you and know your interests and think about you when they see opportunities. But step one is just asking questions, making it about the other person and really building that connection. Couple really easy ways you can do that. One thing is called Work on Climate, and these are volunteers or people that work in climate, which is kind of the new term for sustainability. They're very intersected. And they said, yep, I want to talk to people. Here's my calendar, just book a time. Some of them are one-on-one, some of them are groups. And so if you're new to networking, maybe joining a group session is a good start because you can kind of learn things without coming up with the questions. Another easy networking opportunity is something called Open Door Climate. And this is a spreadsheet of people who are on LinkedIn who have this hashtag Open Door Climate in their profile. And that means they're also willing to talk to people about their job or the industry as a whole. So after you find somebody you're interested in, you do have to message them on LinkedIn. Alrighty. And then preparing or testing the interests and jobs that you've researched. It's also an opportunity to build skills and experience. And to do that, lots of different ways. Taking classes about your interest areas or really skill-based, so maybe data analysis, again, GIS, they'll give you projects to work on to give you kind of a real-world scenario. I'll show a couple other options for you, but really it's all about getting out there, testing things out in the real world. So Forage is a tool that ASU provides for all of you for free. They're considered like work simulations. So they walk you through some tasks and give you some context on like why they have these tasks as part of this type of work. So BCG is a consulting firm. They have big clients, big companies where they're helping companies with achieving their sustainability goals, measuring their emissions, communicating their achievements. So says takes 3 to 4 hours, super low lift and way less time than doing an internship. Volunteering is also a great way to test things out and really meet people. A lot of group volunteering events, they'll have corporate volunteers from different companies. So then you can actually talk to people who might be in this space. One place to look is Volunteer Match. That's a national database. Also, Google search of, environmental nonprofits, your city and state. If you want to be more like skilled in the volunteering or like put projects on your resume, another great one is called Catch a Fire. They do have in-person opportunities, but a lot of them are virtual, and you can search by like skills focus. So I've seen somebody needs help putting together their newsletter. So that's communications, graphic design, marketing. They have HR support, data analysis support. So would highly recommend checking this out. It is unpaid, but it is a resume builder for you as well. And then another thing for ASU offers is Parker Dewey. They're called micro internships, which you can also consider like projects. So you do get paid for these, but they are very defined projects that you will work on. From my searches, there's not really much on sustainability as a whole. So think about this as gaining those really technical skills. So for one, there's that you see here, a email marketing campaign. You'll get to learn how to use like HubSpot, which is a customer relationship management tool. Yeah, so, and I've seen data analysis on here. So just think about, these are ways to gain skills that you can apply to something you're more interested in. All right, so threw a lot at you and not a lot of time. So I will stop here to see if there are any questions. We can start with the chat, or you can totally unmute yourself and just ask out loud. And thank you so much, Christina, for putting all of these links into the chat while I'm going.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Raheem. So all these websites you recommend, they're to help us build our careers for our majors.
Yeah, so it's really thinking more than just your major, thinking about things that you're interested in and skills that you could see yourself using in a career.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I mean, I frame these in the sustainability sector or industry, but really it's these skills and websites apply to any interest area or any major.
I wrote all of them down.
Okay, well, I have a surprise for you. I have all these links ready to go for you in a Google Doc, so you don't have to write them all down.
Thank you so much. And will this presentation be available as well?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? All right, well, I'll go ahead and move on to the ACT part of the career development cycle, which is your job and internship search and applications. Another disclaimer here. There is no right way to do this. Every job search looks very different for everybody. And also, the job search has changed a lot in not a lot of time. It really is competitive out there, especially in sustainability or impact work, social impact work. I think when COVID hit and there's the great resignation, a lot of people realized that they want to have an impact, a positive impact through their work. So there's lots of people who are trying to transition into these industries who have perhaps a lot more experience than somebody coming out with their bachelor's degree. Nonetheless, you are still fully capable of finding a job, just knowing that the first job you get is not going to be the last job you have in sustainability. It truly is a journey and you have to work your way up. All right, just an example of some job help wanted ads. These used to be position descriptions. I don't know which decade this is from, but this would definitely not fly in the equal employment opportunity world. Cannot specify the gender of who you want to apply. But what is nice back in the day was you apply in person and you just show up. Little different as we've gone forward. I love this one because it's super generic. You don't need experience and you don't need a specific degree. And then also willing to do a lot of things that don't sound very fun. This is another one where before the internet, you did have to start sending your resume, but it didn't have to be super specific to the job. So I'm sure for those of you who are casually seeking jobs, now you have seen these super long position descriptions. Some of them are like 3 pages of all the things that you're gonna do and what they're looking for. Super specific in the degrees they want and the experience they want. I think this is for an internship, so very specific on where they want you to be in your academic journey. Whatever. Love things like this where it says entry level and they want 10 years of experience, which is truly just impossible. You would have to start your career at like age 13 if you wanted to get there. So with the job search, knowing that it's difficult, it can really help to manage expectations and kind of shift your perspective on this process. It is an overwhelming process for everybody. I'm sure you've heard finding a job is a full-time job. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. So couple tips here, just knowing that everybody is going to get rejected from jobs. And maybe we don't want to say it's rejection, it's redirection to the right job for you. Keeping a positive mindset and keeping kind of a growth mindset of what you're learning along the way and what you improved on along the way. So I love these micro shifts in perspectives that Radhika Bhatt, she's a climate career coach, and she put together a really nice presentation called Humanizing the Job Search, which will also be included in those links. But a couple of things we hear all the time: I hate networking, it feels slimy or unnatural, like I'm trying to get something out of people. Maybe a new perspective to think about is you get to meet new people, learn things, and have some people that are looking out for you when you're doing your job search. People love helping people. It makes them feel good when they can do something for someone else. So truly let people do something that makes them feel good by getting to know them and sharing your interests. Another one, I hate customizing my resumes. It takes way too long. I don't have time. We'll talk more about this, but customizing your resume, putting keywords, and taking the time to do that, maybe with fewer jobs, is going to increase your chance of getting an interview. I hate the job search. This is very common, but thinking again, kind of that growth mindset. I'm trying something new. I'm going to get better with it, and I'm going to learn so much along the way. And another one I love to is when you're feeling like really frustrated, thinking about, I haven't gotten a job yet. Always adding yet to your statements, because it will happen eventually. And it will, once you do get that position, you'll look back and understand like why it had to happen the way it did, and you'll feel better. All right, so now to the nitty gritty of actually applying. So what I recommend is first getting organized, incorporating those career conversations into your job search. I'll talk more about that in a second. Getting clear on again, what you want to do, and maybe thinking more about the practical logistical side of your job, not just interest areas. Recommend looking at organizations first before you go to job boards, and then apply and stay connected with people who are in that organization or even are reviewing the applications. So let's start with getting organized. Setting goals can really help you stay on track. So maybe setting it, and it also depends where you're at in your job search. If you need a job yesterday, your number of applications per week might be a little higher than somebody who is graduating in a couple of months. But giving yourself a number to work towards will really help with feeling like you're making progress, feeling confident in your abilities. I love saying to have an accountability buddy, making your goals public, visible, so somebody can check in. Public shame is a very motivating force for a lot of people. For some of us, including me, you don't want to tell people you haven't done anything this week. So use that as some positive motivation. Putting time on your calendar or in your head, like my job search time is 2 to 4 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. and just make it a regular habit. So it doesn't take up too much time, but it's also you're giving it the time it needs. Staying really organized with all the applications you submit. I just talked to a recruiter yesterday who said she can always tell when somebody is mass applying for jobs, because when she talks to them on the phone, they kind of like halfway through are like, oh yeah, I remember this job. And that's not a great look. And then kind of going back to the mindset, making sure you're taking care of yourself through the process, taking lots of breaks, giving yourself little rewards when you meet your goals, exercising, eating good, sleeping, all of those things are going to help you with this process. All right, so narrowing down your options, kind of with that career onion, we're going to think again about industries, what type of work, type of skills you want to work for, narrowing down the types of organizations that you're willing or want to work for. Location, where do you want to work? Is it a hybrid or remote position? Salary ranges that you are comfortable taking on. And then thinking about also the perks like vacation or continuing education funds. Also thinking about culture. A lot of organizations put their values on their website. Seeing like, what resonates with you? Maybe looking at their sustainability report and be like, what are they accomplishing? Are they just patting themselves on the back, or are they actually like truly making progress, if that's important to you? Schedule kind of with hybrid remote. Is it flexible? Is it rigid? And then thinking about other things that are important to you when it comes to work. And going back to that Pathway U assessment, there is a workplace values one, and they ask some really good questions that will kind of prompt you to think of other things that are important to you. Writing these things down visibly or typing them out is going to help you stay focused when you are searching. So back to the why. Why do this? I, again, meet with a lot of students and alumni who are kind of scared to pick one option because they're thinking, what if I miss out? What if there aren't enough opportunities? So an analogy I've been working with right now is you just got to pick a lane. So thinking about driving, as long as you're on the road, you're moving forward, you can change lanes, you can stay in a lane, but you got to get on the road for your job search. And also picking a lane or two focus areas, then you can really customize your resumes for those kind of focus areas, so you're not constantly updating and customizing your resume each time. Connecting with professionals, like this says, is a huge part of the job search process. I've heard career coaches say for every one application you submit, you should be talking to 2 or 3 people. Granted, depending on your timeline for a job, you might have to reduce that, but truly at the end of the day, people are the ones who are looking at your application and making the decision. And if you have an advocate in a organization, that's going to go so much farther than a perfect resume or cover letter. So some stats here about how networking plays a role in getting jobs. So ways to do that, we talked about LinkedIn already, but this is very important when you're actively job searching, is making sure it's up to date, following organizations. You can put open to work, that's a personal decision for you. And then starting to follow people at organizations you're interested in, sharing content, or just even reposting things that other people post. So we have a handy dandy checklist for you just to make sure all the components of your profile are filled out. Going back to those ChatGPT prompts, there are a lot to help you really optimize your profile with keywords. So you're getting, sometimes there are recruiters who are looking for people to work in sustainability, not all the time, but it will help you turn up in searches. All right, so kind of like what I said with starting with organizations before looking at job boards. This is advice from Steve Dalton, who wrote the 2-Hour Job Search. So his thesis is that if you start with organizations first, you are going to save time in the long run from mass applying and just hoping it works out. So I would like to show you a LAMP list, and I also have a video on that, but back to this workbook, I don't know why, I can't see the tab. Let's see. One second, but basically, here we go. All right, we're back. So you start with organizations, companies you already know that you could see yourself working for. Then start taking 10 minutes tops for looking for alumni who work at these organizations. And that's 10 minutes total, not 10 minutes for each job or organization. Then thinking about how interested or motivated you would be working there, and then positions or postings, do they have active and relevant jobs open right now? And then you're going to give the motivation and positions column a score. So 1, not motivated, 5, highly motivated. And then you're going to sort the organizations based on whatever you want. If open positions more important than motivation, sort by that, then motivation. But then it gives you kind of a ranking and helps you prioritize where you're going to search for opportunities. This is a nice video that explains it even further. 40 is a lot, but there are ways to do it really fast. All right, and of course you can also use LinkedIn, some of those ChatGPT prompts that we talked about, saying like what organizations work on X in this location. So then thinking when you get closer to looking at actual active positions and job titles, I don't want you to get hung up on a job title. There are so many that address sustainability or social impact that have a very traditional title. So a couple examples here. Sales is a huge part of sustainability for companies. There are a lot of climate tech companies where they make software to help organizations track their emissions. And they need people to tell companies about their product and tell them the benefits. I think a lot of us who are in the liberal arts and really want to do good in the world feel uncomfortable with sales, but from talking with alumni, it is a hugely, hugely valuable experience to gain skills to talk to people and ultimately help you in a different role with change management and making the case for why taking on sustainability initiatives makes sense for your organization. So just keeping in mind that focus again on the organization first and then seeing what jobs are out there and being open to different titles that you see. All right, so after you have targeted some organizations, you can also start looking at industry-specific job boards. There is a huge list that is crowdsourced called So You Want to Work on Climate, and there's everything. It's super overwhelming, so it will help when you have a focus area so you can narrow down the boards that you use. But Green Job Search is one that's super easy. Environmental Jobs is another, and each of them kind of have a focus area. And then thinking about LinkedIn, Indeed, Handshake, they have a lot, but with a lot, it's not going to be super specific. Also keeping in mind that not every company uses LinkedIn to post their positions. So that's why you got to take all of these into consideration when you are searching for positions. Indeed is kind of a nice one. It's a catch-all where it's like scraping the internet for these opportunities, but you just want to make sure that you are going to the organization's website to make sure that's still open. All right, and for our internship searchers, same thing, looking at organization pages. Handshake is our ASU platform for internships and entry-level positions. Our team has created CGF Careers Connect, where we are sourcing opportunities for you. Fall internships are going to be coming out pretty soon. But we can't do everything for everyone in every location that our students are located. So highly recommend you take a look at the places we recommended to. All right, time to apply. Tips for applying. You kind of heard me already say this, but I think something we didn't talk about is really reading and understanding job descriptions. So there are required qualifications, there are desired qualifications. The order in which the duties and requirements are listed show importance. So the ones that are at the top are more important qualifications, or with the duties, things you're going to be doing more often. All right, so example from one of those positions. What are we looking for? Required, must be pursuing a master's, minimum GPA. So if you don't meet those, like, don't apply. However, when you're looking at the desired skills or some required that are more ambiguous, these are like a wish list, like a unicorn candidate. Nobody has all of these skills and experience. So when you're think about, like, if you have 50% of what they're working for, half, or you could make the case that an experience you have is transferable or related to what you're looking for, apply anyway. And then looking at keywords, those are what you're going to want to include in your resume and your cover letter. So when you're actually creating your resume and cover letter, we're going to go over this in our next workshop next week, but using a format that applicant tracking software can scan. Almost everybody, if you're submitting an online application, there's some type of software that's keeping track of your resume and looking for it for keywords. Your cover letter can kind of be a tiebreaker between you and somebody else, especially if the other person wrote a really generic bad cover letter. This is where you can showcase your passion for a specific aspect of sustainability. And considering that sustainability is still a pretty new industry, passion goes a long way. There aren't a lot of people that have like the 15 years of experience that they say they're looking for. So being on board with the organization's mission, that's really going to go a long way. You can't always put that in your resume, so that's why you put it in your cover letter. Make sure you proofread, especially with the cover letter, making sure it's addressed to the right organization. The job titles are this match the application you're applying for. I will say I've definitely sent the wrong cover letter to a job and I didn't hear back, but it's okay. And then following application instructions, is there a deadline? Are they saying save your resume with a specific title and format? You got to do it. And then on the application side, tracking your applications, kind of going back to, you know, you might not hear back from a job for 2 or 3 months. And if you don't have the position description saved, it's going to be hard to remember what it's all about and hard to prepare for that interview. So back to that spreadsheet that I shared, I also included a job search tracker that is from the muse.com. You can add any columns that you want that will help you. These are just some suggested ones, and there's a lot. And I think this is really designed more for applying to private companies like Interview One, Interview Two. But it's really cool that it will give you this next step based on what you are entering into these fields. So here, I would also, the job posting, a lot of times they disappear. So maybe saving them as a Google Doc, that'll guarantee that you can still access it. So really fun. Hopefully you don't have to do 3 interviews. All right. We're getting close to the end of the job search strategy. Oh, so after you apply, even if before you apply, it goes a long way to send a message to a recruiter or even like the hiring manager for the position. So you can do this pretty easily on LinkedIn. Like we said, go to the organization, go to the filter. Finding people who went to ASU, that's an immediate connection that can help. It's okay if you connect with people that maybe aren't on the team. They're still probably going to mention it to somebody. Hiring manager title is a big one. So if you look at the position description, usually it will say like this position reports to the director of procurement. So what you do is you search procurement director, director of procurement. Usually they'll pop up. And so that is who you message. Always adding a note, of course, and then also managing expectations on this part. Some organizations like have a policy where hiring managers cannot communicate with applicants, but your name is still popping into their direct messages. So they are going to recognize your name when they start reviewing those applications. Well, all right. So we are getting to the top of the hour. Just some words of wisdom from me that I may have already said, but again, first job, not the last job or the dream job. Talking to people and building connections and community is going to make this process so much more enjoyable. Let's say so much more enjoyable. And then thinking too, like, if you're not sure if you're qualified, again, 50% apply anyway. Let the organization decide if you're qualified instead of, like closing the door before they even have a chance to consider you. And then quality over quantity, passion, and I think that's all I got. So on the note with resume reviews, I am part of the College of Global Futures Career Services team. Christina is also, we're both career advisors, and we can meet one-on-one with you over Zoom or on campus to go over really anything you want, regardless of where you're at with your career journey. We also meet with students who haven't started. So the QR code goes to our scheduling page. The website is also pretty easy. If you Google CGF ASU career advising, it is the first thing that pops up.